All right. So, hello, hello. Hi, Lillian. You're the first one.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me well?
Yeah.
Good, good, good. Awesome. So, you just finished a building phase, so we're going to be talking about a little bit about that, and I might want to ask for your insights on how it was for you, for your experience too. So, would you mind sharing?
No problem.
Love it. Awesome. Awesome. So yeah,
Um,
let's just see if other people hop in. If
okay,
not,
I'll just going to turn my camera off for a while, like for 5 minutes, and then I'll be back again.
yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Awesome. Hey, Jasmine. So as you ladies come in, as you get started, Wednesday is our midweek check-in. So if you want to share in the group chat, in the chat right now, what has been one of your wins, what is something that we can celebrate and be grateful for up until this point this week. And it could be anything. It could be anything. I will share mine first. I'm super grateful to be serving you guys here on this group call. I've got very good feedback from last week. And as I also mentioned on last week's call, we're going to start doing this on a monthly basis instead of weekly, so you guys can prepare and hop in on time. Amy, we were just chatting about this today. She's living the life, beautiful sun. Awesome, awesome. So yeah, ready to get started. Let's get started and get the ball rolling. And then as people come in, they'll join us. So today we're talking about the mental aspect of building muscle. Most of you are here in our program because you want a certain look. You don't just want to lose weight or just hit a certain number on the scale. You want to look a certain way, and you understand that you need to build muscle for that. But it can be a mind fuck when you start to get to the reality of things, which is adding more weight to the scale and weighing more and not being as lean. So how do you deal with that and how to navigate that? This is what we're talking about here. Jasmine is celebrating getting all of her check boxes last week, working on not getting in perfection mode, but rather trying to work on my consistency. Love that. Absolutely love that. Whenever we strive to be perfect, we end up not being as consistent. And what is going to be really important for our results or is the consistency aspect, not the perfection. You can be perfect for a week, but you're not going to see results on the long run, right? But if you're not as perfect but just consistent throughout a longer period of time, you're going to see results overall as well. So I love that. I love that you're working on that. And so, as I was saying, very knowing consciously that you want to build muscle is something that probably all of you understand. So if you started working with me, you know that you should be building muscle to achieve the final look that you want, to achieve the final goal of looking lean and toned and, getting fitting confidently in your clothes. So you know that you need muscle, that, but you're scared, right? You're scared simply with the idea of just adding more weight on the scale, not looking as lean. And it feels terrifying, especially if you're navigating all of this after a successful fat loss phase, after you've lost weight, after you've been very, very lean. it's going to be really hard for you to kind of detach yourself from that image. And all of a sudden you're not as lean, and clothes are fitting a bit tighter. So I get it. It can be a mind fuck. It can be terrifying. However, a big part of constantly improving, and that's in all aspects of our lives, is thinking that the short-term pain is what will lead to the long-term gain. Okay. So if we're only constantly seeking the instant gratification of the scale dropping or looking leaner or weighing less, whatever the case may be, if we're only chasing those instant gratification, then long term, you're probably going to get into some pain. You're not going to get to the end result that you want. So short-term pain leads to long-term gain. Okay. So focus on that long game. Not how you want to look like a month from now or 3 months from now, but a year, 2 years, 3 years. Heck, my body transformed completely in 8 years or even more than that. So it is a long term.
Could you try again?
Oh my gosh, Siri, shut up. Okay. So always think long term. Okay. You're going to get the rewards later on. If you focus now on what you need to do, if you focus now in the process, instead of just what you're getting from it right away, you're going to get there. You're going to get the reward later on. Okay. And speaking of reward, one thing that's very easy on a fat loss, and I'm going to share my screen with you guys so you can read my document here also, so we can be on the same page. Okay. Here. All right. So whenever we're on a deficit, right, on a fat loss phase, even though it's hard, even though we're going through, hunger levels, we're hungrier than usual, we have more cravings, so on and so forth, it's still more rewarding than being in a muscle building phase, right? Because it can be very, very validating. We are rewarded for our efforts. People are complimenting us all the time. We're 2 weeks into a new diet and all of a sudden we're already dropped weight and we're already feeling better. Clothes are fitting better as well, less bloat, everything, right? So it's very rewarding in the moment. Now with a build, when you're going through a build, it's such a slow process, right? It is such a slow process, and it has to be, because for the body to build muscle, it takes a lot of energy. It takes energy, quite literally, from calories from food, and a lot of work has to be done in synchronicity for the body to spend that energy into building the muscle. So you got to be sleeping well, you got to be managing stress well, you got to be feeling hydrated and eating enough protein and putting enough intensity into your training. If your training is half-assed, if you're not sleeping well, your body's not going to spend that energy into building muscle, because one, there's not stimulus in the first place because you didn't train hard enough, and second, you're not recovering from it, so your body's going to use the excess calories into something else, not into building muscle, right? So it's not a priority for the body. So we have to build an environment that's conducive to muscle building, and that's hard, and that takes time, a lot of time. So I always tell my girls, at least minimum 6 months in a building phase, in an intentional building phase, because anything less than that, if we're 3 months into a build and we start thinking about, oh, I feel that I'm a little fluffy, so I might need a cut right now. No, you don't need to cut right now. You need to push through and keep on going, because you're not seeing it, but you are making progress. And that's the mindfuck aspect of it, because with the muscle building, you're going to be still building muscle, but because you're also adding on a little bit of body fat, you don't see it. right? So like now I've put on muscle, but I can't see it. I don't have the same definition as before pregnancy because I've put on a layer of body fat on top of it, but it's still here, right? The muscles are still here. And if I'm constantly training and constantly placing the stimulus and doing all of the things that I just talked about, the muscles are going to continue to be built, right? So being that muscle building is a slow process and a process that needs to be more fine-tuned, with fat loss, pretty straightforward. You track your calories, you track your protein, you're in a calorie deficit, eating enough protein, moving your body, you lose weight, right? Obviously, there's a consistency component, but it's pretty straightforward, right? If you want to distribute your carbs and fats however way you prefer, you're good. You will make progress, right? Now, with muscle building, not so much. So you got to pay attention a little bit more into the details of things, right? Are you sleeping well, managing stress? Are you eating protein every 3 to 4 hours? Are you eating enough carbs to support your training? Are you being really intentional and putting on intensity on your training sessions? Are you getting stronger? So there are lots more variables that comes into play, right? So you don't get rewarded right away for building muscle, for being in a build. So you have to start the process with that mindset in mind, with that thought process. This is an investment in my future self. This is not something to get rewarded right away from a physique aspect. There are other ways that you can get that quick reward or that instant gratification or feel good about the process, of course, because you're not going to, if you feel like shit all the time, then you should not be doing it unless we fix, what's going on internally. But coming into a build with the same expectation of speed of results and the same level of gratification that you get from a fat loss phase, then you're setting yourself up for failure. So just know that's going to be a different phase. That's going to require a different skill set from you. Okay. And most women have never done one before. So if you're now in a building phase with me or on a reverse diet, going into a build, or even if you're in a fat loss and you want to go through the process of intentionally building muscle because you've never done this before, you'll notice that it is different, right? It is different. And the speed of results is a little bit different as well. And as much as we do things very progressively and in a very conservative way, there will still be a little bit of body fat that will be added. That's just part of the game. Okay. You can't build muscle, just muscle, without adding on a little bit of body fat. Okay. That doesn't mean that you're going to look sloppy. That doesn't mean that you're going to regain all of the weight that you lost. That doesn't mean that you're going to get fat, right? It just means that if you're at the tail end of a fat loss, you're very, very, very lean. So you might be able to see more definition. You might be able to see, your abs a bit more. Your biceps, things are more defined. And going into a build, you're still going to look good, but not as defined. Okay. But you're going to feel better in another way. So yeah, it's not a 6-week thing. It's not an 8-week thing. It's at least a 6-month thing, at least, but you can stay in a build for longer for sure. Okay. So it's just wrapping your mind around not being as lean and understanding that just because you're not seeing it, especially every week, just because you're not seeing it every week, just because you take a deep breath, it does not mean that you're not making progress. Okay. It does not mean that you're not making progress. You are, you just can't see it yet. Okay. So the first tip, like actionable tip that I have for you here is to think long term. Okay. So have a clear-cut goal of how you want to look like. Okay. Probably, and I've had some of you send me pictures of, influencers that you follow, or just random physiques that you aspire to look like. Those physiques were not built in a year. They were not built in 6 months. And they certainly weren't built just during a fat loss phase. It takes years. It takes years to get to a certain level. And it might take multiple phases of fat loss, muscle building, maintenance. Okay. The thing is, the more you focus, have a clear-cut goal of what you want, yes, but don't get so obsessed because you're not there yet. Don't get so obsessed with just the outcome goal, because then you're going to feel frustrated every time you look yourself in the mirror. So understand the why behind you're doing what you're doing. Understand the why behind building muscle, why it's important, and why you want that goal in the first place, but also learn to fall in love with the process of getting there, of becoming that person. Because you look at a certain body and you immediately think, okay, what has this person done? What did she do to look like that? What does she do to look like that? That's the wrong question, though. The right question to ask is, who is she? What behaviors does she have? Not necessarily what does she do, but what type of person is she? How can I be more like her? And again, I'm not like saying that you should be comparing yourself with somebody else, but you might be looking at somebody and asking yourself the wrong questions, and then you get the wrong answers. So whenever you see somebody that you aspire to look like her, or that you aspire to have what that person have, or that you aspire to have the same level of success, whatever the case may be, instead of just what did she do, is what kind of person is she? What kind of person achieved that kind of results, right? What does she do? How does she think? That's a completely different question that will give you a different answer. And that might point you in the direction of enjoying the process more. Oh, she's the type of person that whenever she's in a party, she'll choose this, and that instead of that. Whenever she goes traveling, she takes her meals with her. Whenever she, whenever she's, busy with work, she'll just find a way to meal prep more efficiently. Or she's the type of person who only who prioritize protein, whatever the case may be. Like, what type of person are you trying to become? That's the ultimate question, right? What type of person are you trying to become? And then you work to become the type of person who does those things, and it becomes a lot easier to deal with the process. Because you might be putting in all the effort in the process, but internally you are just saying things to yourself like, oh, I'm not that kind of person. Oh, but I'm a person who I need to have my balance. Oh, I need to have this. I need to have that. Oh, I'm not that kind of person. I'm not that kind of girl. I'm not. And anything that comes after I am is related to your identity, right? So if your identity is not really in sync with the process, and is not really in sync with the person that you want to be ultimately when you achieve the goal, then it's going to be really hard for you not only to get to the results, but also to be satisfied with the results and to maintain the results, because that's the most difficult part for most people, is to keep the results that they've got, right? Many of you can relate with, losing weight after doing a crash diet for 3 months and feeling great about it for a week, and then getting it all back again. Why? Because it did not become the person who implements certain habits, who does a specific behavior, right? It's the type of person that you want to become. So the type of person who builds muscle is the type of person who has consistency, who is disciplined, who thinks long term, who doesn't care if she gets slightly fluffy around the muscle building phase, because she knows that down the road she's going to get the reward, right? The type of person who really transforms her body is somebody who changes the way she thinks. It starts there. She changed the conversation internally. She changed how she talked to herself, how she perceives herself. And every time she starts saying something like, oh, I'm not that kind of, oh, I'm not what? I guess I am. I guess I have to be. I guess I need to be. I need to be the type of person who does certain things to achieve a certain goal, right? If I don't become that type of person, again, it's going to be really hard to get to the goal, enjoy the process, and keep the goal, right? So think long-term. This is an investment in yourself. It is a process. So learn to enjoy the process. Okay. It will take time. Yes. But it is an investment. Just like when you're trying to save money, I was going to use this example. When you're trying to save money, or when you are saving money, right, for something big that you want to purchase, you slowly get there. You don't start saving money now and next month, boom, done, right? You chip in over time. Stock market, same thing. It's got ups and downs. You invest in different stocks, and then all of a sudden it goes down, it goes up, whatever, but you keep trusting the process that over the long term, it will pay itself out. So set goals for yourself, okay? When you think long term, set goals for yourself. One, a clear goal of where you want to be, why you're doing what you're doing, and why you want to get there, right? And also a time frame. Like, keep a time frame in your head, just so you don't like go through it, completely lose, then you don't have direction, right? Oh, I'm building muscle forever, and then you lose track of the process, and you don't even know what you're doing anymore, right? So set a time frame, hold yourself accountable to it, and commit to it. Like I said, a duration that I typically recommend, and most coaches, like good coaches, we recommend is a minimum of at least 6 months in a building phase, right? But again, because we do things very progressively, very slowly, in a very conservative way, you can definitely spend more time than 6 months. Lilium is in this call. She did that. Tanya is on this call. She did that as well. They spent a lot of time on a build, and they're now cutting again for the second time after going through a build. So they're good examples of how to do it effectively. Okay. And even set a goal weight for yourself, right? You know that the weight is going to go up. So instead of being surprised by it, instead of being shocked by it, okay, you can ask me, you can ask Coach Jess, like what is a good expectation of weight gain for myself, right? I can already say that for most people, typically around 1 to 2% of body weight gain per month. Remember that muscle building happens at a much slower rate. So we look at the trends and we look at the numbers. Yes, weekly, just, to keep track of where we're at. But monthly is where we pay the most attention. What's happening on a monthly basis, right? Because again, it is a very slow process. So if you know that you're going to gain weight, okay, how much weight am I expecting to gain? So you don't have that big, enormous, gigantic picture in your head that you're going to become become a whale. And unless you choose to not follow the macros, unless you choose to, oh, I'm in a build, so fuck it, I'll just eat whatever, right? Unless you start doing that, but doing it the right way, which is eating more of what you already eat and training with intensity and doing all of the things, you should expect to gain a certain weight. And then if you know that ahead of time, then you can help us keep track of that. Oh, I guess I'm not gaining as much weight, or I guess I'm gaining weight at a proper rate. Good, right? So you're not surprised by it. You know it's going to happen. So now you know the rate in which it's going to happen. It's more relaxing than being surprised when you step on the scale and you see the bigger number. Okay. Another thing that helps a lot, and when it comes to body weight, whenever you're in a build, and this will look different, because again, we work very individually with each one of you, right? So depending on how you deal with it, we can absolutely set up, a different schedule for check-ins. We absolutely can set up a different schedule for when to measure yourself, to weigh yourself. So if that's driving you nuts, looking at it every day or looking at it weekly, whatever the case may be, we can definitely accommodate and make it easier for you to deal with data, but still in a way that we can observe it and make adjustments as needed. Now, cool, does that make sense?
Totally makes sense.
Yes, Amy, yes. Awesome. So number 2, so second tip that I have for you here, set strength goals within your training sessions. And I think that this is the biggest component of enjoying the process, right? Because sometimes you'd be like, okay, I get it, I need to enjoy the process, but how the fuck do I do it? One of the best ways that you can do this is setting strength goals for yourself, setting PRs, going into the gym, knowing that you're getting stronger than each and every week, knowing that, okay, if I can squat right now 135 for 10 reps, I'm going to set myself the goal of maybe squatting this 135 for 15 reps. Or I'm going to load the bar a bit more and I'm going to go for 155 for 8 reps or for 6 reps. And build that strength over time, right? And then every time you go to the gym, every time you go hit your training session, you're like excited because, okay, I hit a PR today. I hit a PR today, right? Which you don't typically do when you're in a cut. Some people still do. Tanya hit multiple PRs. I know that Lillian as well, even on a cut. But and even Jasmine is on a very steep cut right now, and you're crushing it with your training. Imagine what you can do in a build, right? Because you're going to have more calories to play with, more calories to fuel the lifts. But set those goals. How much can you hip thrust right now? How much can you deadlift right now? Can you do a pull up? How many? None? Okay, let's build that up. Let's get you strong AF with your pull-ups, with your push-ups, bench presses, rows. Set goals around that, right? So instead of going to the gym, again, hip thrust. Okay, how much do you hip thrust right now? Let's build that up. By the end of this build, let's make you hip thrust 3 times your body weight, deadlift twice your body weight, squat 1.5 times your body weight, do 5 unassisted pull-ups, right? Or even more, 10 unassisted pull-ups, depending on where you are. But set strength goals that you strive to get to, and you're going to get excited for it. Every time you go into the gym, you get excited about it. And that's how you enjoy the process. Because then it becomes, you shift your focus from how am I looking every day? Or is my body changing? To heck, I'm getting stronger. Every session I'm getting stronger. How can I get stronger? How can I improve here? Right? And that's just like one of the best ways to learn to enjoy the process. And by default, you're going to get closer and closer to the goal of building muscle, because although strength and hypertrophy, so getting stronger and building muscle, are not necessarily the same thing, they are interconnected at some point. So if you are getting stronger on hip thrusts, doing them correctly, right, with the right technique, with the proper form, if you are getting stronger on your deadlifts, on your pull-ups, again, with the proper technique, proper form, applying proper intensity on the muscles, you're getting stronger and you are doing what it needs to build muscle, which is putting in enough intensity, enough load, enough tension on the muscles, which over time translates into your physique. So you focus on one thing here, you focus on the strength portion, you focus on performance, you focus on getting strong AF. In return, you're going to look really, really good down the road once the build, once we finish that building season, right? Because you're going to be building muscle. If you're not getting stronger over time in a build, you're probably not building muscle, okay? This is very important. So if you're not progressing on your lifts, if you're not hitting, because hitting PRs is hard, and the more trained you are, the more advanced you get, the harder it gets to make progress in that sense. So when you're a novice, when you're starting out, it's easy to rapidly like progress and see the weight bumping up and lift heavier, right? But once you get more advanced, it gets harder and harder and harder. But if you're not feeling like getting stronger, if you're not training to failure, at least for, you know, a couple lifts, if you're not applying enough intensity that you feel like your muscles are going to give up, if you're giving up on your reps before, like your mind is giving up before your body does, if you're not increasing weights every opportunity you have, or either increasing weights or increasing reps with the same load, but doing more over time, that's progressive overload, right? But again, with proper form and technique, that's the ultimate form of progressive overload, making sure that you're engaging the muscles that we're working, right? Just lifting heavy for the sake of lifting heavy will also not build muscle. Otherwise, powerlifters would look better than bodybuilders, and it's the opposite, right? Bodybuilders look better than powerlifters, because powerlifters don't care for the physique, they just care for pulling more weight, right? Pushing more weight. So there's an intersection there. But I see a lot of you just not giving yourself credit for how strong you are, right? For how much more you can do, or how much intensity you can apply. And if you're not applying that intensity on your training, and that's why we focus on this from the beginning, because I wanted to get to a building phase with that mindset. If you're not focusing on that on your training, you're not putting the first initial stimulus for you to build muscle, right? And getting stronger is so exciting, so exciting. Okay. It's I don't know. I love going into the gym and knowing that I'm doing lifting more, lifting heavier, or lifting better, just feeling like I've done my best in the gym, right? Which is nowadays with the pregnancy not a feeling that's popping up so much. But who else here loves to feel that you're getting stronger in the gym, that you're like, heck yeah, I did it. This training session today was fucking amazing. Loved it. Who else feels that way? Pop it in the chat and get them moving. Lovely, lovely. Lillian does for sure. And she's hit multiple PRs this last build. It's crazy. So yeah, that's tip number 2, set strength goals within your training sessions. Performance will motivate you. Performance will get you excited and will shift the focus from, oh, why am my body is not changing fast enough, right? So that's a way for you to keep improving on things and shifting the focus from, oh, I'm not looking as lean, to I'm getting strong AF. I'm loving this feeling, right? Now the third tip that I have for you guys today is work on some hobbies or skills outside the gym. So it's very easy, and I can absolutely relate with that, to be very fixated about the gym. If you ask me what my hobby is, probably I'm going to say workout. And that can sometimes be a mind fuck if you're in that phase of wanting to transform your body and things are not happening. And the only thing that you're focusing on is your body, and how you look and how you look and how you look. Right. Obviously, that's an important aspect of it. And again, if you're following the process really well, if you're not fucking it up every weekend with your diet, if you're not, eating whatever just because you're in a build, if you're truly invested in the process, you can relax the rest of the time, right? You don't have to be thinking about your body and being obsessed about it all the freaking time, right? So start other things that will get you that reward, that will get you that feeling that you might have gotten when you were your leanest version, right? So start a new book, start reading a new book, start, playing sports outside. Now it's summertime, it's the perfect time to go outside for more hikes or go to the beach or go on vacation. Whatever the case may be, like grab your family, start a new thing between you guys, but find other things to be interested in that's just not being so obsessed about how you look and being so obsessed about the gym and how it's transforming your body or whatever the case, right? That balanced approach can be really, really helpful throughout a build. And lastly, which is obvious, but not so much, and it is a cliche, but it's because it's true. And as high achiever, type A, perfectionist, blah, 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 I know how hard it is to be kind to yourself. Trust me, I'm guilty of this. So raise your hand or drop it in the chat if you find it hard to be kind to yourself. If you actually struggle, like you don't necessarily know what being kind to yourself means. Or if you find that being kind to yourself means that you're being lazy or means that you're letting go of control. Drop it in the chat, me, if you feel that way. Because I've certainly felt that way before, and I still do. Like, it's still hard. It's still a work in progress, the aspect of being kind to myself, right? Because we're very, we have high standards, so we can be very hard on us, right? Okay, I need to be performing at the highest level. I need to be perfect. Otherwise, I'm not worthy of this goal, or I'm not worthy, or I'm not good enough. It comes down to that. It comes down to not being good enough. And I don't want this conversation to take another route, but it comes down to that truly, right? Whenever we feel like we're not performing at our best or we're not being quote unquote perfect, it comes down to feeling that we're not good enough. But why? Why do we feel that way? Right? So practice being kind to yourself. That does not mean that you're going to be lazy. That does not mean that you're going to let things go. It just means acknowledge that you're a fucking human being, right? Acknowledge how far you've already come in this journey, what sort of achievements you've already made here. And that's why I'm so obsessed about sharing your wins and celebrating, and look at what you've gained so far. Look at what you're doing good, because it's easy for us to forget. It's easy for us to get fixated about, okay, I'm here, I want to get there. It's just too far of a gap, and I'm never satisfied because I'm never there. I'm still too far from where I want to be. But you forget, you erase completely what you've already done and what you've already accomplished, and the things that you already like should be so fucking proud of, right? It's easy to feel that way, to fall into that trap. And you guys, you work hard in all areas. You're putting in the effort. I don't work with lazy people. You guys are not lazy, right? You guys are high achievers, high performers, you have high standards for yourselves, and you want to be the type of person who maintains at that level. But guess what? You want to also be feeling good about it as well. You also want to acknowledge and feel good when you get there, because if you keep focusing on what's missing between where you are and where you want to be, and that's all you're obsessed about, oh yes, I know I've made progress, but there's still long ways to go. Oh yeah, I'm looking better, I feel better, but yeah, there's like, I'm still a long ways to go. My goal is still. Guess what? When you get there, you're not going to be satisfied. You're not going to be happy. That feeling that you're chasing is not there. It's here. You create it. It's bizarre to think about this, isn't it? It's bizarre. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but you've set yourself a higher goal that you wanted to achieve, or a higher achievement that, fuck, when I get there, it's going to be so amazing. I'm going to feel this way and that way and that way. And then when you hit it, when you hit that goal, when you get there, you're like, I don't feel any different. And you don't, because the feeling is created every day. It's an achievement that should be celebrated, yes, but the feeling is created every day through looking back and acknowledging how far you've come, and patting yourself in the back and saying nicer things to yourself. Like, pay attention to that inner conversation. What are you talking to yourself in your head? Would you say those words? Would you say those exact words, that exact way, to your best friend? I bet you wouldn't. Or whenever you mess up, whenever you derail, whenever something that wasn't planned happened, how do you react? How do you talk to yourself? Would you talk to somebody? Would you talk to your best friend that way? If your best friend came to you and say, oh, I messed up my diet. I messed up my diet this week. I think I messed up. What would you say to her? Are you saying those same things to yourself, or you beat yourself up? So don't beat yourself up. Okay? Don't attach your identity to looking a certain way. I know that's hard. I know it's hard. Trust me, this girl is going through a lot of physique changes right now. But work every day to focus on the things that is outside this, right? Measure yourself backwards, celebrate your wins, celebrate your progress. Look for good things that's happening in your life right now, that's happening with your progress right now, because you guys are progressing, but you're just not paying attention to this. And don't get so obsessed or get too attached to being and looking a certain way, right? This is your choice. Building muscle is a choice. Losing fat is a choice. Taking care of your body, being healthy, this is a choice. This is the choice. This is for you, for your future self. Don't beat yourself up along the way. Seek for accountability. Ask for help. Ask for support. Ask for guidance. With time, okay, so basically the formula is this. With time, the right amount of calories, the right macro distribution, if you're training hard and smart, you will get there. There's no what ifs. So relax, take a deep breath. Look back, see what you've already accomplished. Pat yourself in the back for it. Go back, go into each training session with the goal of getting stronger. Okay, it is an ultra marathon, not a sprint. Okay, the goal is to constantly be improving. The goal is not to be perfect. So, yeah, that's it, guys. That's it about building muscle. Any questions? Anything that you'd like to share? Anything that resonated? Just unmute yourself and go for it.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is it worth doing, let's say, a 1.5 year build, and in between, let's say every 6 months, you do a very short cut just to reduce the amount of fat and keep going? Or is it worth to get as lean as possible during your cut and then go for an 18-month straight off build?
Good question. I think in that case, if you're thinking 18 months and if you're thinking mini cuts every 6 months, I think that's a good time frame. I think that's a good time frame. But again, we would do like mini cuts to get you a little bit leaner, shave off some fat. And it would also improve insulin sensitivity as well. We would kind of reset things. I think it's a good thing.
Exactly.
It's a good plan to have an 18-month build with mini cuts along the way. Yeah, especially if it's not your first build. Oh, and just on that, one way that we can set this up is basically around summertime, right? Around the seasons of the year. So around you do a mini cut coming summertime, just so you can feel a little bit better in a bikini, in your clothes, for traveling, so on. And then fall and winter time we build. That's a good schedule or calendar.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, Tanya, I liked your point about hobbies because I've noticed a lot of girls today say their hobby is working out, but I've learned that it's now just a lifestyle choice. I'm glad I enjoyed it, but I don't want it to be my identity. Yes, this is so important. This is so important. Yeah, I like that. I like that. And you've crushed it, Tanya. You've crushed your build. You and Lillian, because Lillian is also on a cut right now, right? And Lillian, would you mind sharing a little bit of how your experience was with this whole process? Because we've been working together for what?
2.5 years.
2.5 years already? Yeah.
Almost, yeah.
Yeah, and you've done a fat loss, you've done reverse, you've done a long build, and now we're doing your second cut, right?
Right. Yes.
How was your perspective? Like, how did you handle the building phase mentally?
Yeah, the beginning was a mental struggle. And because I always had a kind of a sick relationship with the scale.
Yeah.
And then when my weight went down, I was like, okay, I was very, very extremely lean. And I didn't want to be like that because I didn't have any muscle.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to build muscle, but I was okay. So now my weight is going to go up. How can I handle that? Right. It took me a good 6 months to start actually gaining weight. So we stopped the cut probably June, July 2021. And I actually started gaining weight in December, January 2022. And then it was a very, very slow process.
Yeah.
I was thinking about stopping in November. Then I continued till February, March this year. The last few months were hard, but at the same time, I was training extremely hard at the gym and hitting PRs almost at every session. But the good thing at the end was actually funny. I shared that with you, was that I was feeling like, as you said before, like a whale. I was telling I was like a sea lion. Yeah. And then on that day, I put a specific top, and I was not feeling like good on it. I changed to something like loose. then when I was having lunch, a coworker came to me and she was like, "Oh my God, you have the best body in the building." And I was like, okay, so I was feeling so bad about myself that day, and she made my day. And it was a girl, actually.
Amazing. That's amazing. And
Yeah.
it goes to show that sometimes we also don't see ourselves the real how we are truly, right? We perceive it
Yeah.
different.
Yeah. So then the clothes were not feeling well. And yeah, it was a kind of a struggle. I was fluffy. And then when I took the last pictures of my build, I was like, oh my God, I was in shock. And then it started. Now I've been in a cut for 12 weeks, and I did a diet break. Now I'm back to a cut, and I'm really happy with the results. I think I gained a lot of muscle during this year.
Yeah, love it. And you've been super on point with everything as well. So it goes to show that investing in the process and staying like sticking to the process really pay off at the end, right? Love
Yeah,
it.
I am kind of a control freak. So
Yeah. But you still manage to enjoy life, let's put it that way, right? You still managed to, you went on a vacation,
yeah,
and
I
on the
did.
weekends you were still like enjoying a glass of wine or two and things like that.
Yeah. I went 3 times on vacation during the entire process, and I enjoyed myself. I didn't track anything during the process, during the trips,
Yeah.
like nothing. I
Yep.
ate whatever I wanted. So yeah.
Ah, it's paying off. It's paying off. You're probably should be on our next IG live. That would be exciting. But we'll talk about that after. But all right, and Tanya, do you have anything to share? Can you share a little bit of your perspective going through a build as well?
Hi, can you hear me? Yeah, so it was at first it was fine because I didn't see the impact as much, but then obviously as you go through the process, you gain more and more weight.
Yep.
And then that's where you have to mentally prepare yourself because all the clothes that you might have bought for the summertime may not fit you the same way. But I think I mentioned this before when I did the interview with you, but it's just to know that you can bounce back. If you've cut already once, doesn't mean that you can again. But yeah, it also had its perks too. Like I was really looking forward to eating more and going out and enjoying myself. But at the same time, I had to remind myself that, this isn't going to be a forever thing. I can go back to the way I was before, and just our bodies are constantly changing.
Yep. Yeah. And you navigated it really well. And because you also got to like the first cut, you were really lean. And then we built up your calories quite significantly, like from there over time. So yeah, that impacts the clothes and everything. And one thing about the clothes, and this is something even like for us pregnant women, buy clothes that fits your current body, right? Because it can be so hard to go through a build trying to fit into all your outfits from where you were your leanest. So I have that trick actually whenever I'm in a build or whenever I'm not as like the leanest that I can be. I have my pair of leggings or my pair of shorts that I know are going to fit well, feel comfortably. I have my pair of tops that I know that they're going to, look good in a maybe a different size or a different fit than the clothes that fit me super well when I'm super lean. Because that way we can also feel good about that aspect, right? And it's not necessarily a bad thing. You're just adapting over time. But also one thing that's surprising is from both you, Tanya, and Lillian, like going through the process, the feeling of getting of weighing more, or the feeling of getting bigger, let's say, is more, the perception is more from how you see yourself than from the reality of things, right? Because if we look at the pictures at the end of the build, many people, like Lillian shared, many people would say, wow, you look amazing, right?
That's
So
funny. Because I was just thinking that, and I wanted to add to that it was just me, you know, seeing that in the mirror, but everyone else was like, you look the same, or you look good. Like, I didn't hear any negative feedback from anyone. Obviously, no one's going to tell me that, but even from my husband, he would obviously be honest with me, and he was actually saying I look better now because I look fuller, or I filled out in places. So it's really just like it's like a self thing. We all are just hard on ourselves. We're our harshest critics. So I 100% agree with that point.
yeah, that's so true. That's so true. Anybody else want to share something, or you have any questions for me? We're good. All right. So that awkward moment where only myself have the camera on, but thanks, Amy, for popping in. Thanks, girls, Tanya, Jasmine, Lillian. If you do have any questions afterward, hi, Jasmine. Oh, hi, Lillian. Oh, I guess I'm not the only one with the camera on. See? All right, thanks, girls. If you want to share the insights and anything that you've enjoyed about this call in the WhatsApp group chat, please share it there so we can get more women to hop on these calls. Like I said, this is going to be more on a monthly basis than on a weekly basis. This 2 weeks just kind of, it was a coincidence, but moving forward, we're going to do this monthly. We're going to set up a date that's good for everybody, a time that's good for everybody, or at least we're going to try our best because we're all in different time zones. But yeah, so share anything in the WhatsApp group chat, just anything that you've enjoyed about this call or any insights that you've had from it. And if you have any further questions, also reach out to us, and I'm more than happy to help. Have a great rest of your Wednesday.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Have a good one.